Hi. I haven't made a video in a while, and there's a good reason for it, but no point in discussing that. I thought I would take the time today to talk a little bit about the upcoming election in Japan and why I think it's kind of humorous, actually sad, maybe a better description. So, as many of you may or may not know, the current Prime Minister, Mr. Noda, who is a member of the NDP, has decided to do the right thing and double the consumption tax. So previously the consumption tax in this country was 5%, and Mr. Noda has decided that 10% will help to balance things out. And actually, if they had gone to 10% consumption tax some years ago, it would have balanced things out. But as it turns out, the bean counters actually say that 12% is the actual number, not 10. So in reality, this 10% doubling from 5 is not even really paying the bills. And this is a decision made by the government to essentially keep their services and not pay down their debt, but just to keep the old ball rolling along, kicking the can down the road, so to speak. It's just a total and complete comedy of errors, and for anyone who's been watching the situation here for a while will tell you that every year, pretty much, this country changes its prime minister. It's a merry-go-round. And so the situation is never addressed. There's just a temporary captain, and then they rotate out and someone else comes on board, and it's just really sad and rather pathetic state of affairs. The more I learn about it, the more disturbed I become. So we're now at the point in the Prime Minister's popularity schedule. He's been Prime Minister for somewhere around a year, and so his popularity is hovering at record lows, and it's time for another election. And so the Liberal Democratic Party, or LDP, which these are the criminals who pretty much created the problem. They've had run of the country for 50 or 60 years, and these are the guys who were in charge when there was that huge bull run in Japan, and during the real bubble time here, which was, peaking around the late 80s. So these criminals and their buddies pretty much just didn't run any budget surpluses or account surpluses. They just pretty much spent and grafted, and I guess one could look at it another way, which is they created lots of jobs, building roads to nowhere and bridges to nowhere and endless public goods welfare projects. And the benefit from these projects is marginal, in my opinion anyway. So, for example, here in Shizuoka Prefecture, which is where I live, we have a number of public projects that all lose money. So they opened up Shizuoka Airport here, which is an international airport, However, the airport is of insufficient size to handle the large planes. And so they've designed an airport that can't handle planes sufficient enough to take care of high school trips, which is a big thing here. You know, the high school students graduate and then they take a trip, and they can go to anywhere, Guam, Singapore, Korea, and it's part of the rites of passage. It's part of the graduation process. But Shizuoka Airport's runway is not long enough to handle a plane that can carry a high school class. I mean, who designs these things? It's laughable. And there's a number of other projects. There's another one that we've got this public, I'm going to call it a concert hall, but it's really more of a convention center. It's called Grand Ship, and you can see it when you when you ride past on the bullet train. It kind of looks like a ship, Grand Ship, right? Well, it turns out that the Grand Ship, which is 10 or 12 stories, I believe, doesn't have an elevator capable of carrying a piano. So as a result, you've got a concert facility where you can't move pianos. I mean, who designs these things? It's just really, really sad. I mean, I want to say it's almost like planned, but I suppose it's not illegal to be stupid, right? So anyway, we've got a bunch of, I wouldn't even say criminals, because that would imply that they're planning on stealing. We've got what amounts to a bunch of dilettante incompetents with the keys to the bank. And this goes all the way up to the top levels of the government, in my opinion, anyway. And so now we've got the NDP, Mr. Noda, who are essentially campaigning on the promise to stay the course, to keep things moving along. And now that we can increase our consumption tax and balance our payments out, we can hopefully ride the country of Japan out of this deep recession that it's been in and somehow show profits in the future. I doubt I see the logic in that, but this country is not known for taking radical measures, so I can understand why that would be the Prime Minister's chosen policy, which is do nothing. And then we've got Shinzo Abe and his Liberal Democratic Party, who, as I mentioned, are the criminals who pretty much created the problem in the first place. Giant budget deficits and debts, sky-high debts, and these guys were asleep at the switch when the whole thing came crashing down. And to add to it, you know, Shinzo Abe was Prime Minister before and quit due to health concerns. So this guy is basically pulling a Palin. Again, in my opinion, when the going gets tough, the weak quit. So this guy quit, and now he's back again. The newer, better, more improved, slightly shiny Shinzo Abe is the solution, the best solution that the Liberal Democratic Party can come up with as an alternative to Mr. Noda. And Shinzo Abe is out there saying he wants to create inflation. And there's been some debate back and forth, and he's now saying he wants a 2% inflation. Well, do the math. What is Japan's debt? And how are they going to pay off, how are they going to service this debt with inflation? As if somehow you can magically control inflation. Oh, we're going to choose 2%, you know, not 3, not 1, but 2. And further, there's issues now with the BOJ. I mean, it's just a giant clusterfuck. And don't just believe me. Go and read it for yourself. There's plenty of information out there. It's that because of the American post-election cycle, and there's a lot of other stuff on the table. I mean, Syria and Gaza and Iran and Afghanistan and Pakistan and Iraq. I mean, the whole Middle East is on fire. The Egyptian president is passing, I don't know, more executive powers for himself, and then there's the counter to that, and Americans are not looking at what's going on in this part of the world. And frankly, it's always been disturbing, but it's getting ugly. So this Shinzo Abe guy is saying he wants inflation, and he's also talking tough against the Chinese. We have to keep our beautiful oceans free of these evil Chinese. I mean, who does this guy think he is? He thinks he's going to back the Chinese off with harsh language? This is the best the Liberal Democratic Party can do? And then we've got this third party run by this I was going to say something even more terribly rude. This Mr. Ishihara, who wants to nuclearize Japan's defense forces to protect the country against Chinese aggression. And he's popular. This guy is very popular. And he's 80 years old. We have an 80-year-old politician running for Prime Minister of Japan on protect our islands, create a nuclear defense force, and I have no idea what he's talking about as far as the financial situation goes. It's just really disturbing. And so I thought I'd make a video about it that hopefully at least explains a little bit. So the times they are a-changin', I suppose. And I guess part of me is hoping that Noda will win, even though the polls are saying he won't, because I suppose by doing nothing, at least the ship of state is not going to crash on the rocks. But then again, I suppose if people want the ship of state to crash on the rocks sooner rather than later, maybe Shinzo Abe's your man. Anyway, we'll know soon enough, within a few weeks. Sayonara.